Today marks the 14th anniversary of the 9/11 World Trade Center attacks. 14 years ago, our country fell under attack from a foreign group and 3,000 Americans lost their lives. I was in the 3rd grade at Bettis Elementary School in Akron, Ohio, and I was 8 years old when these attacks happened. I remember that about 70 to 80% of my school was signed out within an hour after the attacks. And I remember my mom, she actually got me right before I went to the after-school program, and I remember on the way home, she was telling me about what happened, and I was shocked. As an 8-year-old, I was like, why would someone do this to another person? And I remember when we got home, we turned on the TV, and for hours we watched replays of the attacks. And I remember seeing people jumping out of the windows and falling to their deaths. This was the first time that I remember in my life something this bad happening that I could understand and comprehend somewhat, and it troubled me. In the next few years or whatever, it was always something that I always thought about every time there was 1 year after it happened, 2 years after it happened, and it was something that I thought about, why are people so fucked up to each other? And now that I'm 22 years old, I understand things a lot better, and I have to say that a lot of the reasons for all this violence that we see in the world today has to do with religion. And a lot of people will say that even with 9/11, religion had nothing to do with it. The people who perpetrated these attacks, they misread the Koran. The Muslim fundamentalists, the Christian fundamentalists, they're not reading their scripture correctly. That's not actually what Christianity and Islam is about. But from reading the Bible from front to back and reading a large portion of the Quran and Hadiths, I would have to say that a lot of these, extremists or fundamentalists are just, following what's in their books. It's sad to say, but I'm an atheist, and I see that the people who are committing these acts, for instance, with the 9/11 attacks, people will say that, oh, well, Islam's a religion of peace. Muhammad was a warlord who was a caravan raider, and the religion of Islam was spread. Once during Muhammad's lifetime, he attacked other city-states within the Arabian Peninsula, and then his descendants pretty much conquered most of the Middle East up through North Africa, and then they went into Spain, and they actually got turned back right around in France, and that's why a lot of those regions of the world today are predominantly Islamic, mainly due to the fact that their religion was spread by the sword. But Christianity isn't off the hook either. In the Bible, there's constantly warfare. There's the Israelites, they're constantly going to war with their neighbors. And one story in the Bible, the God in the Bible said that they after they conquered their enemies, he basically said, kill off all the males, take the women as sex slaves, and take the children as slaves, and then kill everything else that's in the city that's living. The God in the Bible floods the planet. He nukes cities such as Sodom and Gomorrah. He tells people to kill their children, and you see this, this kind of violence, replicated, throughout history when it comes to Christianity. During the Crusades, I would say that it was either second or third crusade, where a crusader was saying that, or he was bragging about conquering the Holy Land and walking knee deep in the blood of Muslim women and children. And this is why religion is such a big problem in the world, because you see all the time people who are adherents to these religions, not everyone, but a sizable amount of them, commit acts of atrocities. And it's sad. It's like, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. Why can't we just get along? But the religions themselves say that, we need to spread. We need to make sure that everyone follows what we believe. Even Judaism, or not, actually not. And this is why religion is such a huge problem in the world. I know a lot of people don't want to admit it because, a lot of people are religious, but you can't say that religion does more good than bad. That's just not true. The bad that comes from religion far outweighs the good that comes from religion. I mean, you see in the Middle East with ISIS, the region was already unstable. And I'm sure that if you take away the religious aspect, there will still be fighting, but I don't think it would be that bad how it is now over there if religion didn't play a role in it. I mean, they literally behead women and stone them to death because of simple stuff like, oh, you're walking around and you're not fully covered up. I mean, they will kill people for the most slightest of things, like just things that people don't really think about in civilized countries or countries that have, gone through their own religious conflicts and they have sort of moved on from it. I mean, in our own country of the United States of America, we used to burn people at the stake. Like, what was it, like 300 years ago? The Salem witch trials happened, and they thought these people were witches, and they literally burned them alive. I mean, I can go on and on about this, but in closing, I think that as human beings, we need to love each other, and we need to look past all these indifferences and say that, hey, look, at the end of the day, we're all flesh and bones. We might look different, but on the inside we're all the same. We might have different levels of melanin. Some of us might be tall like myself, and some of us might be short. But I don't see the reason why we should kill each other over trivial things like this. I think that we need to come together and advance our society. How about we fight against poverty, or we fight against hunger, and we fight against misogyny, and we don't fight against each other. And that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching.